Welcome to the Fret Frontier. This is part 2 of constant bass blues for your baritone ukulele. In part 1, we selected the key we were going to work in. We're going to continue that same key of D. We're playing 12-bar blues, and we're going to be remaining within the first 3 frets of our note choices for our blues patterns. In constant bass, acoustic blues, what we do is accompany ourselves while we create our own blues solo. The way we do the accompaniment is through bass lines, and we try to focus those on our lower strings, in this case the 4th string and the 3rd string, and we try to focus our melody notes on the first 2 strings so that we have everything separated, and we're using our thumb to grab the bass notes. As a general rule, we're using our first finger to grab the 2nd string, general rule again, and our second finger to grab the 1st string using our right hand, general rule. Now these can cross over and you can do whatever is comfortable for you, but this is the basic concept that you're following to help the coordination feel as comfortable as possible. What we're going to start off with is creating a little theme. We're going to add some motion to the type of coordination that we developed in part 1. In part 1, we were playing straight quarter notes along with our accompaniment, using our melody notes. These are our melody notes again, just as a review, and I'll show you up on the screen here. So we have these 4 notes basically that we're choosing from on our first 2 strings, and we're going to use this. I'll show you what we had before, just the straight quarter note. Okay, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But what we're going to do now is work on coming up with ideas or little melodic ideas, mixing those notes up rhythmically so that we hear something that's a little more interesting and put a little swing on it so it's not so dry. So the theme that we're going to work on for this particular exercise is to add some 8th notes in there. So I'll create a pattern for us for this particular time through, and then you can experiment on your own with other patterns you might want to come up with based on what you see me doing here. Here's our melody. Okay, and we're going to add our constant bass to the back of that. So when we see our first measure, the D7, we've got 8th notes now against that quarter note in the bass. So when we hit the D note, we have 2 notes that we're going to be playing before we get to the next bass note. So let me just demonstrate that. We're doing. Okay, so we have 2 notes that we're hitting when we do that bass note. 1 and. The next beat, we have the D back to the F. So we have bass note, bass note, bass note. Okay, so we have 1 and 2 and 3. 4. Okay, so that's what's going on in our melody line now, and that's going to add a little more drive, a little momentum to our line as it goes along. Not everything is happening on the downbeat of the quarter note. We have some melody going on some of the upbeats, and then we have the melody just staying in a half note, right, while the bass continues. We have movement. Okay, and now we're going to keep that. That's our theme. That's our riff. So we're also doing riff-based acoustic blues. So we're creating little melodic lines. Okay, so now we're going on to our G7. The only thing that's going to change is we're going to hit this 3rd string. And now we're going to come back to our D7, same thing. At the end, we change it up just a little bit. Before we were just holding that note on the first string, first finger, but now we're going to come down on the second string. We're going to play 2 more eighth notes and then hold on that last one that we do there, that C. So this is how that sounds. Okay, so play it with me. Last 2 measures, slowly. 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now we have our first line. So we're going to go ahead and play that end to end, that first 4 measures, slowly together. Play it with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, now you're sounding like a real bluesman. Very good. All right, let's go on to our next 4 bars. Same thing. We're doing that same thing. This is a little riff over and over. So now we have G7. Then all we got to do to get G7 is hit G as our bass, and we're playing that same riff. Okay, that got us through 2 measures. Now we're back to D7. Same thing that we did in the first line. Nothing's changed. Okay, so now let's play those 4 bars together, slowly, on 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. False alarm. We'll try it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Now, our last 4 bars are going to be our turnaround. We're going to set up our turnaround, changed a little bit of the momentum, break up the rhythm a little bit, and then we'll do our little chromatic pattern that we're used to associating with the blues. And the turnaround gets us back to the beginning. When you're listening to people play blues solos that are in a band, people will take turns and do several choruses, and you'll always hear when you're getting to the end of that 12-bar blues, some kind of turnaround keys everybody into the band, like we're at the end of the 12-bar, we're going to start again. And it's the same thing that you're going to do when you're accompanying yourself. You're setting yourself up for your next go-round, in which case this case, we're just going to play the same thing because we just have the one pattern so far, but you can do solo after solo, chorus after chorus, idea after idea, new riff each time, and you can go through this as long as you want to, as long as you're enjoying it and you're coming up with new ideas. So now let's address this turnaround. Let's take a look at our last 4 bars. We're looking at A7. Now the slash chord that you see here, so A7/E, what the E means is that we're playing E in the bass instead of A. So that's the indication that you get in notation. When you're playing a regular chord, here's our A7. Instead of A being at the bass, our lowest note is actually an E. If we take a look at our 4th string, D, E is on the 2nd fret. So that's just letting the player know we've got an A7th chord, but we have E in the bass. So let's do that when we're playing this. We're going to use E in the bass as our bass note throughout this measure. And our little melody line is just going to be 8th notes at the start. So we're going to go E, C sharp. We're just doing that actual A7 chord here. Okay, so we're not worried about our melody notes. We're playing off the A7 chord. So we're going to do E and E together, so 4th string and 1st string together. And then we're just hitting the 2nd string. You've already got the 2nd fret on the 2nd string pressed down because you're playing the A7 chord. And that's our note. We just let it ring out for the rest of the measure while we play our bass notes. So let's do that together on 4 slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Then we move on to our G7. In this case, we're taking notes from our scale again. We're going to put the first finger on the first fret, first string, third finger, third fret, third string. Those are going to be our melody notes. And then we're going to play our G in the bass, as we did before. And our little theme, our little riff here is just those two notes as eighth notes. Okay. So let's add our bass note. Adding our bass note would sound like this. Okay. Let's play that together slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Now here's our turnaround. Here's where we're playing our little blues line that we're used to associating with blues. Sounds like this. Okay. And the last note that we play, that last note, second fret on the third string, we're going to add a vibrato onto that. And we're going to do the blues vibrato rather than the kind you would do in classical music. So in classical music, right, we rock back and forth, and we get that subtle, nice, light sound. In blues, we're going to rock up and down. We're pulling that string up and down, and we're going to get a wider sound. And you can use another finger to support you. So instead of making the second finger sit there and do that all by itself, it gets to have a buddy. You can bring your first finger over there with it and press that string. And then just rock it back and forth. Okay. Now let's play that last 2 bars together so we can hear that with the bass note together on 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Okay, so let's play the little riff that we have here throughout our 12-bar blues, accompanying ourselves end to end. We'll do it a little bit faster. You can slow it down using the YouTube controls to play with it, but we'll take it at something that make it sound kind of bluesy, and we're bouncing along, giving it some motion, giving it some movement, and it'll sound like this. So play it with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Hope you enjoyed that, and let me know how it's going for you. You're a blues person now. Enjoy it. See you in the next episode. Thanks a lot for joining me.